They say people never forget how you made them feel. And on the night of my 10th anniversary, I finally understood why. The ballroom of the Harrington Plaza glittered with golden chandeliers and mirrored walls reflecting the perfection I had spent a decade curating. 80 guests dressed in black tie and silks filled the long tables draped with ivory linens. The name cards were embossed in gold foil, the champagne was Dom Perignon, and a string quartet played Debussy, while servers floated between clusters of conversation. I wore the same perfume I had worn on my wedding day, as if clinging to the memory of who I thought I had been back then. My husband, Adrian Harrington, stood at the head table basking in attention with that familiar smug smile that never wavered when he had an audience. When he raised his glass and tapped it gently, the room hushed. To love, to family, to 10 incredible years, he began. A murmur of expectation rippled through the crowd. My mother leaned forward, her hand covering her mouth, anticipating a sentimental declaration. But Adrian's smirk deepened. "Elena," he said, turning toward me with venom thinly veiled as charm, "you've disgusted me since our wedding night." Gasps erupted. A wine glass shattered against the floor. Someone laughed nervously, believing it must be a cruel joke. My chest constricted, but I didn't flinch. He reveled in the shock, dragging the silence out until the string players faltered and lowered their bows. 10 years I've tolerated this facade of a marriage, played the loving husband while suffocating behind your cold mask. But tonight, I'm done pretending. He didn't finish because I smoothly smoothed the folds of my champagne-colored gown and gave a subtle nod to the audiovisual technician at the back of the room. We had rehearsed this. The lights dimmed, and the projector screen behind the quartet flickered to life. Adrian froze mid-sentence, his voice catching in his throat. "What the hell is this?" he muttered. The words appeared in gold serif letters, 10 years of happiness. A cruel irony. The opening frame played our wedding video, me in a white dress smiling with unguarded joy. Adrian staring at me with the practiced expression of a man who already knew his plan. Guests leaned forward whispering, "Was this part of the celebration?" Another romantic gesture. Adrian's color drained. He shifted in his seat glass, trembling in his hand. "Turn it off!" he hissed, but I did not answer. Instead, I let the carefully constructed lie we had lived unravel in front of everyone. 3 days earlier, the truth had slipped into my life almost quietly. I had returned home mid-morning with a migraine intending only to sleep, but I found Adrian's phone on the nightstand, unlocked, unguarded, entirely unlike him. A message preview glowed across the top. "Can't wait to try on the new set. You said red was your favorite." The sender was saved as Kitten. My stomach clenched. Against every instinct, I picked it up, entered his passcode, our daughter Sophia's birthday, and opened the thread. There it was, weeks of messages, photographs, and voice notes from Natalie Price, his young executive assistant. Their words were intimate, their plans shameless. The one that hollowed me out completely read, "Just 3 more days. Let her have her anniversary. After that, I'm done playing house." Adrian's reply followed, "Don't worry about the prenup. My attorney says if I wait until after the anniversary, I can walk away with half. Half of everything I had built, half of the Harrington fortune, my family's legacy, my daughter's inheritance, all negotiated like a business deal with the woman who wore my robe in one of the photographs." I sat on the edge of the bed, the phone searing my palm. I didn't cry. Not then. Something inside me shifted instead, like a lock clicking open on a door I didn't realize had been closed. The next morning, I called Thomas Reed, a private investigator my father had trusted years ago. I told him everything with cold precision, like I was describing someone else's life. "What do you want?" he asked after listening quietly. "I want proof," I said. Timelines, photographs, bank records. I want to know exactly what he's done and who he did it with. He leaned back, considering, then nodded. It will cost you. I didn't hesitate. Money is not a problem. This isn't about divorce. This is about exposure. Within 3 days, Thomas delivered a leather binder filled with evidence. Adrian had not stumbled into betrayal. He had orchestrated my entire marriage. Years before, when his own business collapsed, he had sought me out at a gallery opening my father sponsored. He courted me not for love, but for legacy, positioning himself beside me until marriage guaranteed him a future. A note he once wrote to a college roommate read, "Marrying Elena isn't romance, it's insurance. Her father's name opens doors. She'll never notice, she's just the means to an end." But he was wrong. I notice now. And I would not remain silent. So, when Adrian raised his glass to toast a life he thought he controlled, the lights dimmed, and his true words appeared on the screen. Him in a cheap suit, 10 years younger, laughing into a camera. "Of course I married her. Who would pass up a Harrington?" The room gasped. Forks clattered against plates and the illusion shattered. Adrian's face blanched. He stood abruptly, reaching for the projector controls that were no longer his. I remained seated calm as the storm gathered. "This is your moment, darling," I said softly, loud enough for only him to hear. "Enjoy it." The room remained hushed as the video shifted to grainy hotel surveillance. Adrian and Natalie laughing in a corridor, kissing in an elevator, the timestamp revealing it was just 3 nights ago. His alibi had been a business trip to Washington. Now the truth was immortalized on screen. He lunged for the remote, but I had it. He sank back into his chair, fury twisting his features. "Elena, stop this," he growled. I ignored him. The next clip began, Sophia sitting cross-legged on her bed, clutching her stuffed fox. "Mommy, why is Daddy always working late? Doesn't he want to be here?" Her small voice trembled. On screen, she broke into sobs, whispering, "Did I do something wrong?" The silence in the ballroom was suffocating. My mother turned her face away, tears streaking her cheeks. Someone in the back sniffled. Adrian's mask cracked completely. "You're using our daughter as a weapon," he spat. I stood now calm and steady. "She is the only reason I waited this long. Don't dare use her name like she's part of your story. She is the truth you can't escape." The final clip played Adrian in his office, whispering into a phone. "Once the paperwork is filed, I'll freeze her accounts. She's too busy playing mommy to notice." Gasps rippled through the room. I walked to the center of the ballroom and handed Adrian an envelope. "Divorce papers," I said evenly. "Signed. The accounts are frozen, the firm knows everything, and your access is gone." His hand trembled. "You can't do this. You need me." I leaned close. "You were right about one thing. I was too soft. But softness is not weakness. Tonight I've stopped holding back." Then another voice rose above the murmurs. Charles Whitmore, chairman of Harrington Global and my father's closest friend, stood with a blue folio in hand. "Adrian, you didn't just betray your wife. You betrayed the company. We've traced the bonuses, the transfers, the shares you funneled to Natalie Price. Effective immediately, you are removed from the board." He turned to me. "Elena, your father always said you had the strength to lead. Tonight you've proven it. The firm is yours." As if scripted, uniformed officers entered the ballroom. "Adrian Harrington, you are under arrest for fraud, insider trading, and misuse of company funds." The clink of handcuffs echoed as gasps turned to whispers. Natalie stumbled toward the door, her face white, but no one stopped her. Adrian's eyes darted desperately for allies. There were none. He was escorted out under the same chandeliers he once craved, his empire collapsing in a single night. I raised my glass again. "To truth," I said simply, and drank. The aftermath was chaos. News outlets replayed the footage endlessly. Adrian's smirk replaced by panic. Natalie shrinking in shame, me raising a glass as the empire fell. Headlines screamed ballroom betrayal and Harrington heiress exposes husband. My phone buzzed with interview requests, board inquiries, relatives feigning sympathy. Through it all, I remained at my parents' townhouse in Connecticut with Sophia shielding her from the circus. She asked once why Daddy wasn't home, and I said gently, "Because I want you somewhere peaceful." She nodded, hugging her fox. Her innocence was what broke me more than any headline. Thomas Reed arrived with another envelope, his eyes grave. "I found something you need to see. Page 42. Inside was a letter from Adrian to Veronica Hale, the corporate lawyer who had overseen our prenup. The words made my blood run cold. "Dearest V, marrying Elena secures legacy. With your help on the contracts, she'll never see it coming. One child will cement the bond. After that, we'll see." Bile rose in my throat. Adrian hadn't acted alone. Veronica had helped him design my downfall from the beginning. I remembered her smile during contract meetings, her polished nails as she slid papers across the table, her cool eyes that seemed to already know everything. She had shaken my hand with betrayal hidden under civility. I confronted Thomas. "Do you think my father knew?" He shook his head slowly. "Your father suspected. That's why he locked the voting shares before he died. He left precautions." Days later, those suspicions were confirmed. In my father's old vault, I found a sealed envelope addressed to me. Inside was an unsigned prenup one he rewrote, voiding Adrian's claims entirely, and a business card. Thomas Reed's. My father had left me protection long before I knew I needed it. It was time to close the circle. I arranged to speak at the Women's Executive Alliance Gala, where Veronica Hale was scheduled as keynote on ethical leadership. The irony was sharp enough to taste. I walked onto that stage in navy silk, my heels echoing against marble. Veronica froze at her table. I began my voice steady. For years, I allowed others to shape my narrative, my career, my marriage, my silence. But being a woman in power doesn't mean titles. It means holding your ground when the floor was designed to collapse beneath you. Murmurs spread. I looked straight at Veronica. I was married to a man who planned my undoing before vows were even spoken. He didn't act alone. Legal help guided him. Trusted help. But trust speaks loudest when it breaks. The applause that followed was sharp, deliberate, like a verdict. Veronica never approached me. She left quietly, her face brittle, her reputation collapsing in silence. I didn't need confrontation. Exposure was enough. Weeks passed. Adrian faced indictment. Natalie resigned from every position, whispers of a plea deal chasing her. Veronica vanished from public boards, her silence louder than denial. The storm that once felt suffocating now carried a strange release. I moved Sophia into a quiet apartment downtown, a space with wide windows and no ghosts. We painted her bedroom together, foxes and stars sprawling across the wall. She laughed freely again, and her laughter was the only music I needed. Thomas visited one rainy afternoon, handing me a copy of Adrian's police statement. One line stood out. I thought I could outsmart her. I never thought she'd fight back. I slid it into my journal, a footnote in a story that was no longer his. There would be hearings, depositions, endless cleanup, but emotionally, I was already done. Standing in the executive office once occupied by my father, I looked out over the city, not as a pawn, not as a victim, but as a woman who had reclaimed her name. I realized then that justice is not always loud, but healing it is thunderous. To anyone who has been betrayed, underestimated, or silenced, you are not weak for trusting, but you are powerful for choosing yourself when they stop deserving your loyalty. Betrayal does not define you. Your response to it does. Real strength is not silence. It is walking away, speaking truth, and rebuilding on your own terms. Sometimes the sweetest revenge isn't destruction. It's peace, dignity, and becoming everything they said you could never be. I had lost a husband, but I found myself. And that was a beginning I would never regret. If this story moved, you don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and comment below to support the channel and hear more stories like this one.